Hello all. Before we begin the video, let's discuss CloudFoundation. CloudFoundation is the premier online training platform to help individuals and organizations gain knowledge and skills in the ever-growing cloud computing industry.
An example, this rule you have written. And now this rule needs to be executed on a daily basis again. Okay, so these are the actual real-time project requirements. So this rule needs to be executed on a daily basis. If it is task, you can use the sequential task launcher option, correct? But since it's a rule, what will you do now? Are you going to execute on a daily basis with the help of support engineer? This rule needs to be executed on a daily basis. So in that scenario, we have another task name called run rule task. So you guys know what is standard properties. Based on requirement, you can fulfill this. From here, we can choose the rule which you needs to execute on a daily basis and create this task. The task will get created and it will stored under task definition object, correct? If you want to schedule this task now, you can create another schedule task. Let me show you that. So this rule will be executed. Now I'm going to execute this task. The task will save and it will execute. So now we have a run rule task here. So if you want to schedule this, or if you want to be included in the sequential task, yeah, we can do that. Okay. So the run rule task completed successfully. There is no output it's printing here. Since we have executed the rule, if you want to capture the log, if you want to check the log, yeah. So let's talk about that quickly. Here we have selected which rule? APC logger test, right? APC logger test something. Not this one. Okay, so here we have written some rule. It's going to print some birth rate provisioning plan, log.error provisioning plan. So this is what it's printing. The rule config, null value, so it's ignoring. So provisioning plan it's printing. So based on your timestamp and based on your logger statement, you can check the logs. If you're not familiar with this, you can skip this. No need to pay more attention, okay? So apart from that, let's talk about plugin today. So what is plugin basically? So whatever tool, whatever application it may be, if it's looking for any specific feature which needs to be implemented on the application, okay? So in that scenario, you can call it as plugin. Okay, you can call it as plugin, add-in, add-on, something like that. Okay, so in Chrome also we have kind of plugin, so we will call it as extension. So here we have an extension, right? Where is that? So you can call it as plugin for this application. So in a similar way, if you want to add any additional feature for your Sailpoint application, so you can go to click on this gear icon, go to plugins. With the help of developers, you can implement some plugin basically. You can build some plugin and you can import into Sailpoint. Now I have a requirement. Since you are a developer or you're a support engineer, you may involve in the development activities. Okay. And additionally, you will involve in the deployment activity as well. Is it similar? Development and deployment? If the project have the budget to have a DevOps team, it's fine. Sometimes if you have less resource, you have to take care on your own everything. Because I've seen a lot of projects where they don't have BA, they don't have DevOps team, they are not following Agile model, they are following waterfall model. It depends on the project and their client. Okay, so development is all about building something to fulfill the business requirement, and deployment. Whatever you build, you have to push into the production environment, right? So that everyone can utilize that and we can fix the bugs and all. So that's the difference between development and deployment. Okay, I was trying to say, as a support engineer, you are going to involve a lot in the deployment activity. As a developer, you are going to involve in the development activity. Because as far as I see, developer is not going to involve in the deployment activity, and they are not 100%, 80%, I would say. Developer is not going to involve in the deployment activity, and they don't have access, first of all, to the production environment. So they are not supposed to deploy directly. I hope you guys are clear. Developer will get access to only developer environment, not to QA, not to UAT environment. They will have some minimal access. They can deploy they can push the artifact, they can push the code changes. Apart from that, they can't do anything. Okay, so I was talking about plugin, right? Yeah. Now you have a requirement. As a developer, as a support engineer, you have to push the code changes. It may be code changes. It may be you have built something freshly, build some artifacts. Artifacts is nothing, it's an object. Again, it's an identity object, you could say. You have built something, you have created a new task. So again, you can call it as artifact, you can call it as identity object. That task needs to be created in QA environment. What will you do? Okay. So imagine this is the developer environment. Here in the link, dev is there, developer, this is the developer environment. You have created this task in developer environment. It's working as expected. Now you are planning to move this artifact into QA environment. What will you do? For QA environment, we may have different link. You have to log in with this QA link. Imagine you don't have SSB configured and you don't have any GitHub or you don't have any repository. So what will you do? If you have any advanced tool, definitely we can rely on. But if you don't have in that scenario, like when it comes to task monitoring, we don't have Autosys tool, then you have to manually do it, right? In a similar way, if you don't have these SSB or GitHub, in that scenario, you are a developer, you are a support engineer, you have to deploy the changes. So you have to push this task from dev to QA. In that scenario, a lot of people, what will do, they don't have access to QA environment. So they cannot create, they cannot log, first of all, they cannot log in into QA environment. So you have to push the code changes with the help of Eclipse, correct? So first you have to configure Eclipse. From there, you can deploy the code changes. One option. Second, you can export this object from here. Since you guys know how to export the objects with the help of IIQ console, correct? You can export this object. You can ask QA people to import it again from their option. So you can do that as well. It's up to the project requirement. How they have defined their project. One, with the help of Eclipse, you can deploy directly from any environment, from anywhere to anywhere. Second, you can export the object. You can ask them to import the file. Okay. So in that scenario, how to do the object export? So here we have out of the box task called data export. But here you have some restriction, some limitation, I would say. You can export identities, you can export accounts, you can export certification. What about policy? What about access request? What about rule? What about workflow? If I want to export. So how come we can achieve this? You got my question? I want to deploy this task, so I want to export the task. I don't have feature, right, to export this. Identity IQ Object Exporter plugin. This is one of my favorite plugins. With the help of this plugin, we can export all kind of identity objects. Okay, there is no restriction. There is no limitation. You can export all the XML objects very easily. So download this zip file. Okay, let me download. Open that. So what? Just go to import, install. Here you could say task definition object export XML. So I will come to know, okay, this is related to task definition of, that's fine. We got a hint. Now we will go to gear icon, plugin. So as of now, we don't have any plugin here. Okay. So click on new, drag and drop will work. Select the file. So it will install automatically. Successfully install the object exporter plugin. Since I know it's related to task definition, so I'll go to setup, task. So from here, click on new task, scroll down. See here we have XML object exporter. So this is kind of plugin. With the help of plugin, we are able to utilize this task, XML object exporter. Okay. Again, you can create a task. You can export from anywhere to anywhere. So base path to export. If you want to remove the ID values, which means if you want to remove the created and modified values, right? All timestamp if you want to remove. So if you want to, which object you are going to export, if this naming convention matches, then only the object will get exported. If you want to skip any metadata, environment specific metadata, so you have a lot of options. So this plugin, you can use it to export all type of identity object. Because I have shown one out of the box task, right? But there is some limitation. You can export only identities, certification, that's it. If you want to export task and all, we can't do that, right? But from here, we can export. Got it? So let me show you. So mine is SSB configured system, and I have a task called object exporter already. See? So whatever object I'm going to export, it's going to store under this folder. So I want to remove all the ID values. I want to export all the application object now. Okay, and this is the naming format of the file. First, the object type will be there, or you can call it as classes, and object name in the XML format. Okay. So instead of application, if I'm going to execute rule, or maybe task definition today, task definition. If you're not sure about the object, again, you can go to debug page. From here, get the object. Just copy. Okay. Now execute this and copy this path.
And finally, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.